Good morning. Hello there. Welcome back to the stream. My name is Ren. I'm a technical designer at UX is Fine, and today we're going to be working on Unreal Engine and a reproduction of the ARC Raiders skill tree. So, bear with me. Let's get started. Okay then, so I think my music's probably a bit loud. Let's turn that down. Alrighty. Got my coffee, it's a morning coffee stream. Okay. So where did we get to last time? We created a skill tree item data. This holds the unique ID, which is initialized from its asset ID. We've got a category, an icon, max levels, size. I actually don't remember what half of this stuff does. Should have put comments on everything. Max levels. Max levels. I'll have to re-watch the original video. A skill tree category. We've got a skill tree entry here. And then we had started creating a skill tree and trying to figure out how this is going to work. And in particular, I think that what this needs to do is be a loose canvas, so that if your screen size changes, you can actually still interact with this. Yeah, so something like this, and then you can like pan around on this. But what I want to do today, seeing as I've forgotten what some of the makeup is here. Max levels 5. Oh right, yeah. So in the original, each item has a number of levels that it can have, and then you click it multiple times with multiple points. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. And then some icons that we don't have anything for yet, which is using this grenade right now. Okay, so one thing I want to do before we crack on is go and take a look at this item and make sure that we have the states that we need for it. So there will be things like the unlocked state. Let's actually go and open up the picture because I've forgotten how it looks. The hover state needs to handle itself, so that's one thing. Let's take a look if the preview works for this. So I'm going to get the hover state for this working first. That'll be the first thing to do. This is a user widget. I wonder if we can reparent this to a common button. It's a common button base here. Then make ourselves a common button style for that. So CBS underscore skill tree item. What I could actually do is make the states, the actual states in here. So you see here we have like normal base, hovered, pressed, and selected. Selected we won't be using, I don't think, because we're not going to need it, but we could at least use it for the normal. I suppose we could use, so I'm just looking at the thing here, we could use selected as complete, sort of like recondition that and sort of rethink how it selected works. It's not actually that you're selecting it, but it is selected in the sense that it's complete. So that could work, and we could actually have the filled version in there at that point. And then I don't think there is a hover state for selected, so that's fine. So we'll do that. Let's go and set it up. So one thing I remember is that this border here is actually a separate color. So that's not going to be handled by the common button style, even if the background is, and then the icon itself as well would need to be pumped into whichever material shows up on the common button style. So what I'm going to do is control this all through code. So we're going to go single material here, and then this single material is just going to be blank. That's going to be our base style. I'm going to do everything else inside here. So there we go. Basic style. Just make sure that we've got no padding in here, because that's always a thing when you hover and press and stuff, you get these paddings. So that'll do us there. So this still behaves as it did before, but now that this is a common button, we actually don't need the size box, which is 128 by 128. So we'll replace this with the child. We'll use this here. Just make it explicitly 128. And we'll start adding some of the right, so enable the variable setting. It is a button now, so I should be able to just see this down here, but it's not letting me actually see that. Let's just start typing them in the graph here. So event hover, event unhover. So this is, I don't really like configuring look sets inside code, because it means when someone looks at this, they're like, well, I actually don't know what the hover style is. So I'm going to go in here and actually say this is hovered, and we'll apply the color over the top afterwards. So the color will come from a data set. In this case, I'm going to make the hover style, so I'm just going to lighten it up a bit. Should have an icon color as well. This is nicer because now artists get to control how the hovered state looks, just aside from the color itself. So now we just need to make sure that our border here, which is our border circle, is a variable that we can set the material on. So set the material here. I'm just going to use hard paths for now. I don't think it matters too much. Just going to apply that hovered material, and then on unhover we're going to apply the default instance material. So let's go and rename this as well. So we'll call this normal. Give it the MI treatment. This will be normal. Let's make sure that we right click and update the redirectors since we renamed those. Go into normal here. Cool. So now that we've got that in our preview, we can actually see that immediately working. So that's awesome. The preview widget. Okay, so back in our skill tree entry, the next thing that we need to do is get the dynamic material for this. What we can do is actually run this through its own little function. Custom event update color. So we're going to set a vector parameter here. We'll just call update color from both of these. What we could actually do is we could clean this up a little bit more as well. Set material. Set material. Use one and all this. So anytime you set the material, the reason I'm doing it this way, anytime you set the material, we must update the brush, so we don't want that to be decoupled. We want that to be consistent. Otherwise we'll end up with some bugs where someone, you know, potentially sets the material but doesn't update the color. So this is normal. This is hovered. Okay. So if I hover it right now, it will just go. It should just go. Actually, well, we haven't set a parameter here. So once we do set a parameter, which is skill color, file that. Jump back over to skill color. Yeah, if we jump back over to this now, it should go black. Yeah, there we go. So the other thing that we need to change is the color of the second border. So border underscore pip. It's a variable. Just need to figure out what the color property is for that. So it's the outline. That makes this a little bit more difficult because the outline is part of the brush. It becomes a little bit involved, so you have to get the brush, you have to get the outline, you have to break it to get the outline settings, break that, break the outline again, although that is the color apparently. So okay, so what you can do here is set member. Open, and we'll be setting the outline color here. We'll make a color from this. Hide all these variables that we don't need. Again, we need to set the members in here for the outline. Struct here. Hopefully this all just works. So we'll plug this in here. And now we just need to define our colors. So apparently it doesn't like this. The brush is a read-only property and cannot be modified directly. So what you can do from here is you can actually copy this. Just move everything else into there. So like this. So what we've done is we've made a copy, which is what this little node is. And then we're starting to modify the internals of that. So this specified color and this color here, they both need to come from something. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new data asset for this primary data. We'll call this BP underscore skill tree colors. Put a new variable in here that's the category color. So this will be our category for our skills. And it will be a key map. So we get one value for each of those, and this will be linear color. So now we can add one of these, and we use the last one, add another one, use the middle, add another one. Once we compile this, these will be colors, which of course it removed all of those. That's awesome. T and conditioning. And then so from here what we can do is we can take a look at our design and say, okay, well, conditioning is a nice kind of green. Presuming that we would be taking this from a hex value from a Figma, but in this case I am color picking it directly from the reference material. There we go, we've got our three colors, and what the reason this is nice is because now we can say here is like, actually, are we ever going to need this again? Probably not. Are we ever going to need this? We're going to need this in multiple places. So we could create a function library to grab that for us. Because we need this from multiple places, I don't want to have to code the concept of like holding the data asset every single time, so we're going to make a function library. Actually, I think you can just get that from Blueprint. Function library here, bpfl underscore skill tree. Didn't do it. Let's try it one more time. Let's see what's going on. bpfl underscore skill tree. So this might hold additional functionality, and what we want to be careful of is, because this is a function library, everywhere it's used, it's going to hold all of its data. So we're now saying anyone who uses this is going to be loading skill tree colors. Get skill tree color. And in here we can hold a local variable, which is the color data. So now we're only ever storing this in one location. These skill tree colors, it's a hard reference because we need it always loaded and it's quite small. And we never actually made a version of it. So let's go and make a miscellaneous data asset that is our skill color. It's already defaulted, so da underscore skill tree colors underscore default. Plug that in here, and then we can have a return of a linear color. The color here. Whoops. Color. Hey, how we doing? I'm good. How are you, man? We're just building a skill tree right now. I'm just setting up the color asset so that it's global accessed rather than individually everywhere it's needed through a function library. That's why that's how my day's going. So how about you? Category in here. Grab this. Get the category color. Yo, hey Trey Live, how's it going? If you didn't catch that, we're currently building a skill tree for an ARC Raiders style skill tree, and I'm just setting up the colors to be globally accessed. So that's my day. How are you guys doing? How is everybody on this new morning? Why? Okay, so now we can't save that. So let's just double check that I don't have a second version of Unreal open anywhere, which I do not. Let's have a look here. I was a little bit sus. Okay, so what we can do is get color, skill, tree color. And because this is a simple function, it doesn't run any real like side effects code. I'm going to make it pure, so it's a little bit cleaner in the graph here. So then we just need to know what our type is. But for now, what we're going to do is test this quickly. So back into our preview, it's going to immediately crash because there was some sort of loading issue. So let's go and reopen the project. Of course it's going to crash. I'm not too bad, just relaxing a bit before work. I've been wanting to learn about UI design in UE. Yeah, UI development in UMG in Unreal. There's lots to learn. This whole channel is dedicated to that. Would love to do some Unity stuff and some Godot things, but I'm an Unreal expert and I'm the one who's streaming, so we get to do Unreal. Let's have a look here. So preview. There we go. So it's not applying the color to the pip, so let's go and take a look at why. We can actually keep that preview open. Nice little tool there to preview things. Let's keep this docked and go and take a look at our skill tree item. This moment there. Okay, so going in, we're getting the color, we're setting the members on an outline brush, and we're taking the reference for this, which I think is the problem. So what we might want to do is take a copy of this, plug this as the struct ref, and then let's try this instead. Oh, and I tell you what, actually, that's probably not even necessary. I think the reason that this might be happening is because we're never reapplying this back to the border. So we just want to go and set brush here from this reference of a copy that we made locally. Let's go and see if that works. Nope, that doesn't work. Okay, so now let's try plug it this. The text also needs to change color, which I didn't think about. So the text itself, we may want to control the color of it separately, but for now, let's just go ahead and set the color directly from what it is. We could add another property for that, but we're not going to. I've been following for a bit. I was on a follow tirade when I started game dev. I'm finally starting up a project, slowly getting things together, but it's started and I'm excited. Start of a project, the honeymoon period, is my favorite part. Racking stuff together with like asset packs and like snippets of ideas and like being really super inspired. Finishing a game is really hard. finishing a project is really hard work, but it's also something I've learned to love when it comes to optimization. And yeah, when you get to that point, reading profiles becomes a daily occurrence, and lots of documentation. But the start of a project is really fun. Starting a project is really fun, and what this stream gives me is the ability to start new projects all the time, because every single stream set is just a new little mini project. In this case, today we're building this thing. So let's carry on. We've got our designer here. We've got our layout, really small hierarchy here with a attachment for the border pip there. Okay, so set our brush. We want to set our text block, and we need to name that text block because we like to keep our stuff organized. So we'll say this is level, for example, and then we'll just set color on here. Set color and opacity from the skill tree color. Back here. Okay, so we got green. That's awesome. Now we just need to start plugging in data into this that actually powers it on construct. So we'll get a pre-construct node, which is going to allow us to, for example, if we came in and we just said set the material to normal and compiled it, it would immediately change. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I've just opened C++, that's awesome. Okay. So we could technically promote this to a variable, but I don't want to do that. I want this data to come from a view model, and I want to populate a view model with that data. So I need to think about this for a second, because this is where data management really matters, because I don't want to do it and start fumbling around going in circles. So let's just stare at this for a second. Let's all stare at this and meditate for a moment. Well, I take a sip of the morning coffee. Good stuff, good stuff. Okay, so we're going to be defining multiple paths that are skill tree root, I guess. We've got, let's get some nomenclature. So we've got nodes on a skill tree, and we've got 3 skill trees technically. We've got conditioning, mobility, and survival. We're looking at this picture here right now. Gosh darn it. So we've got 3 trees, and each tree is a series of nodes that a designer needs to configure. And I'm that designer, so I'm about to go and create the system that lets us define a tree. And the way a tree needs to work is you need to first be able to define what the data packet of each one of these are. So that includes the icon. I guess technically you don't need the type of the skill in the skill, but it does always help to do that, I think. You could just put that type in the skill tree that's owning all this data and derive it that way, but it is nice to put it in the data itself, I think, sometimes. I find that usually quite useful. Okay, so and then we're going to have sort of like children, like an array. It's like, and then these 2 come from this, and then this 1 comes from this. And then so it can be the case that this heart and this shield both point at this element here, this little chest, and actually draw the lines between them. And so another thing I need to think about is, am I going to draw these splines dynamically, or am I going to just hook them up myself in the editor and then determine whether something is available to be clicked? While I think about this, there are some other states that I do need to resolve. So, but this is live data, so this is like, is it unlocked? This is not unlocked. This is unlocked. This is technically locked, I guess, because you haven't hit this branch, which is going to be city. That data, that locked styling, that's all going to come from the data itself, but we can at least prepare the visuals for now and just keep the data out of the question, and maybe that will lead us up to the end of the hour. And we'll come back to the data either in about 15 minutes or not. So let's just make sure that we've got this filled state and this not filled state now In order to facilitate that, we at least need an enum to handle that case. So we'll call this skill state. So by default, the skill is locked. Actually, there is a locked state. So it's either locked, unavailable, available, and complete. Locked, available, unavailable, and complete. So I'm just going to make a new function in here. Custom event set skill state. This will be what the VM powers later. So skill state. Just write skill state 7 times. Okay, so what we can do now is we can get the dynamic material. I'm going to go against something I said 10 minutes ago, which was we want to be able to control how this coloring looks. I could make a filled version, to be fair. Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's go for that. Let's go. We'll go for the locked appearance. We'll go for the. So available is just normal. So we've got locked. We've got unavailable. To be fair, unavailable is actually I've done this wrong. I've just made the locked style hovered, so we don't want to do that. Yeah, I've just realised the difference in state here is kind of programmatic because it's not going to apply the color, and if we hover this, then what happens? I think you should be able to hover these elements, and they should light up slightly. And so maybe we need extra colors from our color data potentially. So in here currently we have these 3 colors defined for survival, mobility, and conditioning. So maybe we need state colors. We can change this to skill state. Call that. So we'll kill this and we'll just make the complete available. Well, actually, we don't really need the complete one, to be fair. Yeah, we don't need the complete color, but we do need the unavailable color. So, and then we also need something for the hover. So, but hey, unavailable. It's the one that we don't need, and neither is complete technically, because both complete and available are going to derive their color from the category color. Is this how I want to do this, or do I just want to hold them as loose colors? I just want to hold them as loose colors, to be honest. Let's take this. It doesn't make sense to have that, so let's just go linear color loose in here. Single linear. Just call this locked color. So we have a blueprint function library that we built. I have get skill tree color here. It's based off of a category. So we could also have get skill tree locked color, and we could change the name of this one to get skill tree category color. Currently we have category here, so we'll just apply that. You're just doing the functionality, not the mechanics of the skill tree, right? I might add some gameplay abilities to this. I do have the gameplay abilities set up in this project, and it is currently powering other elements of the game, like the ping system is controlled through the gameplay ability system right now. So I might eventually get to the point where I'm like, oh, and now you have extra speed, now you have extra jump height. And I'll only do a few of those. I'm not going to implement the whole thing. And I'm not going to copy what that game designer's done. I'm here to reproduce some of the UI and take a look into that. But I do like doing mechanics, and I do write gameplay code, so if you stick around, yeah, we'll get into it maybe in a couple of weeks. Because I'm only doing an hour a day, so speaking of, I've got 25 minutes. Get locked. Gotta go to work at 9 till 5. It's currently 8:30 for me. So we're just going to return this color. But yeah, we'll get into the gameplay ability system logic, and the way that I've already considered it is that basically when you define a skill like conditioning, there's an ability and an effect here, or an array of both, that will get applied to the player when they have that. And then some things I've been thinking about are like, well, I don't really want to have to do the math of figuring out if you have level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That can be a level in the ability itself. Ability system has a concept of level. But let's say you have two things that are like run speed, one at the beginning of the tree and one at the end of the tree. They'll need to apply attribute modifiers basically to your run speed, so you get the 20% from one and the 20% from the other, or the -10 even from the other as a downside. So I've been thinking about it, but we're not there yet, so let's just finish the UI up first. So set skill state. We actually don't want skill state. Yeah, we technically do actually. So we're going to set the color of this. This technically could be and should be reproduced. Now, I've said this like 5 minutes ago, is this needs to all be in one thing. It's like, no, this did need to be in an update color node, or a function even. So we're just going to collapse this to update color. We're going to promote this to a variable for now, because we're going to replace this with the VM later, but basically skill state. And we can promote. Do that. Update the color. We're updating the color here. And what we'll do on pre-constructors, we'll update the color as well. Start organizing some of our graph here. So this is init. This is hover. These are functions, so I'm just going to move them into functions. So the way I like to think about this is red stuff stays in the event graph and blue stuff goes in as functions into the function library here for this class, so that when you look at the event graph, you see events that are occurring upon it that result in the call of functions. And so you can quickly read like, oh, so if I hover it, this happens. What does this do? Oh, it sets the brush and then updates the color because it kind of needs to. That makes sense. Okay, so from here now what we'll do is we'll promote this to a variable for now. I'm just going to put these in a folder called temp. Call it temp waiting for VM. So that's the category there. Put the category in here. Put the category in here. Now, this color, actually, what we can do is promote this to a local variable. So L color. We're going to basically determine what that color should be at the beginning of the function, and then the rest of the function can run and do what it was doing before. But first we're going to figure out what the color needs to be. So we'll do a sequence to keep this clean. We'll wrap all of this in a thing called apply comment, called apply color, and then just above it we'll make a new one, determine color. So we're going to grab the color here, and we're going to run a selector off of this, and that selector is going to be based off of the skill state. So another thing we can do is get the locked color. Of course, does not work. Oh wow, really doesn't like that. It really wants to put this okay. Something up with this function library, man. Like, I drag it into here, it just does nothing. What if I reopen it? No. Just gonna try naming it skill. Compile. No, it just moves it back to enumerator too. Whatever. Give up. Get locked. Get skill tree locked. Yeah, so lock as an ID is the wrong nomenclature, and I was struggling to find it there for a second. So okay, so if it's locked or unavailable for now, we're going to do this get locked color, and otherwise it's available or complete, so we'll get the other color and plug this in here. Now we'll jump back to our preview. It's just the wrong way around. It's the wrong way around. Let's double check what's going on there. Okay, so you hover it and it lights up. I could change the color of this other one as well, but we know how to do that. That's fine. So over on the right, we've got skill tree state locked. So we could go available. We could say unavailable. We could say complete. We could change it to mobility. We could change it to survival. And so another thing that we need to do on complete is actually fill the entire thing. Because if you look at the work here, that's how that is. And it does actually change the icon color as well. So I do need a complete material. Yeah, the color of the icon currently, yeah, it's controlled through here. So we need a complete version. So this will be the complete version, but the icon color needs to change. It needs to be the background color, like so. So that's our complete style. Now we just need to apply it. Close these down. And what we could do is move, could actually call this update material. And instead of taking a material here, select the material based off of the state. So we can say, what's the skill state here? How many streams deep are you on this project? I did 45 minutes last week, and today is the next 45 minutes, so I'm an hour and a half in. We'll probably have it done in about 8 hours, usually is the track record. And I'm going to try and do more streams, so I'm going to try and get on like daily. I was always so busy. Anyway, so yeah, we'll get it done. We'll get it done. Not too many streams. We'll see. We'll see. At least every single stream we achieve another step in the right direction, and I believe that we're almost at the stage where we're going to have to write the data and then hook up the skill like splines, and so that will probably be tomorrow morning, which means that the only thing left after that is actually interacting with it and clicking around and it applying abilities. So probably 2 more episodes on this, 2 more mornings, but at minimum I'd like to say it's going to be done by the end of this week. Yeah, and make suggestions and leave comments and like and subscribe. It's nice to have you around. Keeps me motivated. Okay, so locked, available, unavailable, complete. Well, so for stats, we want our complete in here. And then we need our is hovered. Or we could just say normal. So everything except complete. And I could say that if you're on one of these, that it becomes the hovered state, technically. Seems a little bit ugly to me, but we're going to do it. We're going this way, right? So this is not hovered and then hovered. So that updates the material. And we'll rename this update color to update... Actually, wait. Well, we need to update material on these. So we'll update the material. And since we've got this new material thing, we need to call this at the beginning because it in turn calls update style. So let's compile that and take a look now. It's locked, it's complete. And it needs to hide this element as well when it's complete. So that's our complete state. This is our available state. This is our unavailable state. This is our locked state. It doesn't have the lock symbol either. You can hover on all of these except for the complete state right now. And so I am going to make a complete hovered state. Here. It is just going to apply the color over the top though, because the color is right there. In the data asset, it's just going to straight apply the color. What was one of your favorite UIs that I worked on? There was one that I did in like a day. I literally just sat on stream for 2 hours and was like, oh, it's done. So that one I think was the dragging, like it's like a card game mechanic of like drawing a Bezier curve of a bunch of dots. That was just like one stream and done, and that sort of stuff is really fun because it shows like just going from, like, if you were on a team and you had a ticket given to you and then you just did the work and it came out the other end and you sort of showed it off that day. That's the kind of work that I do. So it was really sort of like expressed that kind of skill. My favorite UIs to build, and another one was like, I liked the Division map, that was fun. I really liked building out the roguelike map. The Peak UI was an interesting endeavor in using AI to come up with HLSL logic. It's improved vastly now since I did that a year ago. Now I would be a lot faster. Most of them were fun. So this hovered skill state, like I could go in here and I could color it, but that's not going to do anything because that's not how it works. So I'm not going to do that. I don't want to add like custom logic. So what we need to do is we need to update the material. So we're going to add a new thing here, tint. We're going to add, just going to add global tint. what we'll do on the hovered here is we'll go and modify that global tint. Which apparently starts as an actual color, so we need to modify that. So start as black. Add nothing, and then add something. So we're just gonna bring it up a little. That gives the designer or the artist some control. Oh, right, yeah. I need to code it. It'd be good if I coded that. So we've got complete and complete hovered. So that goes in there. 9 times out of 10, hitting play is the reason it doesn't work is because you just didn't hook it up. There we go. So at least it changes color and something is happening. And so that is important because we're going to have tooltips and we want to know that we're hovering it. So there's some UX there. Some UX there. I do only want to color the so I don't want to color this icon. I just want to color. I'm just going to call this BG tint. An icon color you can change directly. The reason that this has to happen is because skill color gets changed. Yeah. Oh, I renamed it, yeah. I renamed it to BG tint, so now it doesn't work. So subtle that a person might not get it. So what we could do is do something. We've got to be able to do something. That's just horrible. I don't like that at all. I do want to change the color of the icon. But now I'm in control of the icon independently, so it's a little bit nicer. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so how long have we got left? Well, we've got 8 minutes. In the skill tree entry, we might want to do a few things. So we'll need a function for updates or apply state. So in here, what we're going to need is that border pip set visibility. Pretty sure. So we're going to select based off of the skill state, and if it's locked, this element is collapsed. If it's available, this element is non-hit testable. If it's unavailable, it's collapsed, and if it's complete, it's collapsed. So that updates our state there. And then we'll need a little lock icon. So I'm just going to add an image, which is a problem because we don't have anywhere to put the image right now. So in which case we're going to replace this with an overlay. We're just going to shift this down some units, down there. And then we're going to get an image that's going to go on our overlay. This is going to be our locked image. I should have wrapped the whole thing in an overlay, I realise. So which goes on here. Let's replace with child. The border now full size. There we go. It's locked at the bottom. See if we have a lock image. Do not have a lock image, but we'll use this numlock symbol. Perfectly fine. We'll come back to that because I don't have a lock image right now, but basically image locked visibility is also based on the state of the skill. So basically I'm setting up the functions right now so that when I have the VM and something changes one of those properties, I can call apply state, I can call update material, I can call whichever one I need based on these two properties changing. And generally speaking, it's going to be either of these properties change, run the update. The only one that runs only on skill is apply state. But yeah, the image lock is non-hit testable here and collapses on every other one. Cool. So let's go take another look. Yeah, so it's locked right now, then it's available. Oh, that didn't work. Wonderful. Oh, it's because I'd never called apply state. I literally set that 2 seconds ago. Apply state on pre-construct so that we can see what's going on. Forgot to enter the fab sale. Whoops. No, I don't want to play. Okay, so that's locked, available. Cool. Oh yeah, and so now in locked, available is the only one that shows the pips, unavailable and complete. The other thing that we'll do as well is we'll call that update state, or that applies. Okay, we'll call it update state. I don't know. See, I like to use the word update where it's like it picks a thing, and I like to use apply when it's just like there is a state. Placeholder icon, of course. Yeah, the numlock. It's a lock symbol. You can't argue. It's a lock symbol of some description. I don't know why I don't have a lock symbol. Let's go to gameicons.net. Gameicons.net. I can't remember what it's called. Game-icons.net. Just type in lock here. I love hard lock. God, the icons are disgusting. They're just so bad. I don't want any of those icons, actually. How long have I got here? I've got a few minutes. Do I have Photoshop? I'm just going to make my own one. I'm just going to have to make my own icon. Gosh darn it. Okay, we're going to wrap this. And we'll do it in a moment. Okay, so new file. I'm not showing this because my Photoshop has a lot of work content on it. Just trust me, I'm building a lock icon right now. We'll go 64 by 64. We might crunch it down one lot later. Okay, and then Shift M to get a circle. Just sneak peek. Whop. There you go. Sneaky peeky. Give you another sneak peek. There it is. Look at that. File export T underscore locked or T underscore icon underscore locked. I have to keep things organized. Okay, so that's in. We're going to import that specifically. At the moment, I don't care where it lives. I've only got like 2 minutes left, so There's my locked icon. I like to just do the quick and easy apply paper 2D. That goes on to my locked symbol here. 32 by 32. Yeah, so that's cool. There's a little bit more work to do on that particular element, and I might actually stick around for 5 more minutes and do it. So, for example, we want to wrap this with a border. The border has no padding, and the brush color is, we're going to change the brush color in a moment to copy from the locked color. And the actual brush itself is going to be a rounded box who's now a circle. And 8 padding, not to that, do 4 padding to the lock symbol. You might need to, let's have a look here. Yeah, that'll do it. So that's cool. This actual lock symbol itself, its color, I think that border has actually got an outline right now, which I don't want. It's brush transparency, outline color is 0. You can just about see a line around it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want that line. Don't want that line. Well, that's annoying. I don't seem to be able to get rid of the line, although what I could do is just use the color on the out. Yeah, there we go. Right. So now that's our border locked. That's the thing that we change the visibility of. And additionally, when we update the color, we need to set the color, brush color, of the locked item background to the color that's coming out of here. Ta-da! Locked, available. Cool. So that's the stream. We did it. We're 2 minutes over. Fired. Fire this guy. Get rid of this guy. Okay. So today, what we did is we set up the different states for our skill tree item. We've got our hovered states, we've got our locked state, our available state, with different categories for colors. We've got our unavailable state and our complete state, and the difference with those is that they don't show the pip. So if it's locked, it's like this. Okay, and so all of that is set up through materials that artists can control. So this is our base material. You can see it in the background here. It gives us the controls necessary to configure the normal and hovered states and the complete and hovered complete state. And then everything else is controlled through a small material function, or a small function that updates the material on our skill tree item. And it reads its colors from a global library inside of the blueprint function library here. So we have this one data asset that defines our global colors by state, so that we don't need to worry about that drifting between widgets. We have a setup ready here for when we hover and when the state changes. We have our functions ready. This is temporary right now, but we have our functions ready for when our view model is created that gives us the real-time state of actually interacting with those items. And so that will wrap us up for today on just setting up the visuals of this item. And then next time what we'll do is we'll move on to actually setting up data assets. So it's going to be less visuals and more code in the next one, because we're going to be mostly focusing on setting up the data that helps us achieve what designer would need to control how these link up logically, right? What's based on what, and then later on we'll hook it up to the game playability system, and we'll actually apply some skills like speed and jump height and things like that to our player. In the meantime, thanks for joining. It was awesome being here again as usual. Please like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Leave some comments, engage with the posts, tell me what's not good, like the shorts, they're probably really bad. We'll improve the channel together. Thanks for joining. See you in the next one.